PBL app IDs along with your email IDs. Yes, so okay, at least some of you who are facing that invalid or account not available, I think those issues are resolved. PBL app will be slow, okay? So definitely that will be slow, but at least login issues you should not face it is what I understand. Okay, okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, who is this?
Uday ma'am, Uday Bhaskar.
Yes, Uday Bhaskar, tell me.
Yes ma'am, I have an issue PBL app. I opened PBL app up to email verification. After that, I got a home page on PBL app without login button.
Can you share your screen?
Oh,
Then if such scenarios, you have to just try to clear the history, all-time history and retry.
Yes ma'am, I tried many times like that only ma'am, but the issue is same.
Uday Bhaskar, what is your superset ID?
Super 122.
Just a second. You have 122
89
89
86.
86. Uday Durga Bhaskar. So you using Uday 115611 at gmail.com.
No ma'am, I using Uday Jagarpur 007. Yesterday mail also got this mail. Can I share my screen ma'am?
Wait 1 second. Tell me your superset ID. Okay, 1228986.
Yes ma'am.
Yes, Uday Jagarapu 007. Correct. This is the one.
Yes ma'am.
Okay. So when you are trying to log in, did you
Shows
type
like
the superset ID or did you try to copy paste?
ma'am, while entering the superset ID before only I got an issue ma'am. Like home page without login button. After verification the email.
See, I am just sharing my screen. I just logged into PBL app with your account. Uday Durga Bhaskar Jagarapu. This is registered. So I'm able to log in. So if you have used your correct email ID and these things. See?
Yes ma'am, this
Okay,
one only.
this email ID and this is your login username and password is also the same after you get PBL homepage.
Yeah, ma'am. But I got like, can I share my screen, ma'am?
Yeah, share it.
Shows like this only, ma'am. Without login button. After verifying the email.
Then it is been logged in your browser. It is something with your browser. Yeah, try it on any other browser and see.
Yeah, ma'am. I used Mozilla, Edge, and Chrome. All these three are facing same issue.
Can you give me the control?
And the cleaning expert 400. ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂತಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ
Yes, Vishwanath, you have anything to say?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I didn't receive ADID.
ADID is not yet received.
Yes, ma'am.
How many of you haven't received ADID? Please type 1 in the chat. If anybody has still not received ADID, please type 1 in the chat.
Shows errors in console, ma'am. Second one.
Yeah, you take the control and log in. So, how many haven't received ADID? I'm copying your details, team. Maheshwar, you need not reset password. The password is the same as your superset ID. When you log into PBL app, you can use same superset ID as user ID and password after you see PBL app welcome page.
Again, same issue.
Home page. Is there any pop-up blocker? Go to that pop-up blocker options. Can you see the top right 3 dots? Go there and see if there is a pop-up blocker. Extensions. Just a second.
Oh, ma'am. Where can I find pop-up block?
Just a second, I'm checking with Suresh.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Once I get the response, I'll update you, the Bhaskar. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Right. So turn off McAfee extension is what Rakesh is suggesting. If McAfee is on, just turn off and try it again, Uday Bhaskar.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Right. So team, so are we good to start?
Hello, hello,
Yes.
ma'am. I have a question that if I late to submit the hands-on assignment, is there any problem?
See, it is definitely tracked every week whether you are doing the things or not.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, but ideally by end of the training, you are expected to finish all of that. Otherwise, you may not get the certificate. But it would be
Okay,
good
ma'am.
if you will be uploading your hands-on daily or at least 2 days once or weekly once, so that you see we can see a gradual progress in your topics. Yeah. Right.
Ma'am,
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
ma'am,
Yes, tell me.
if you don't mind, can you log in my PBL app with my superset ID once?
What happened, Akhila? Akhila, you went not audible last
Yes,
time. What
ma'am,
happened?
yes, ma'am. Account not found, that's only my issue, ma'am.
If it is account not found, tell me your superset ID.
122
122
59
59
51.
51. What is the email ID that you are using?
akilaimmadi90@gmail.com.
Okay, you have signed up with it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the issue that you are facing?
Account not found and invalid in PBL app.
No, you should get any one of that, right?
I mean, account not found / invalid in PBL app, ma'am.
Is it? I'm sharing my screen. So, Immadi Akhila.
But I am not unable to.
So, can you see? Akhila Immadi 90. So, do one thing. You clear the browser history all time and try it once again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, this is the email ID. So, you are already registered, so you will be able to log in if you use this email ID. And when you log in, employee now, see, what are you giving for password for PBL app ID? Password?
Same
Same
password.
number. Yeah, type the number. Don't copy paste.
Okay,
Okay,
ma'am.
just try and see.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have one doubt, ma'am.
Tell me. Tell me, Deepak.
Mail for certificate verification, ma'am. What do ma'am?
Oh, sorry, Deepak, what happened? Hello?
Certificate verification, ma'am. Can you
Certificate
hear me?
verification. Oh, your voice is breaking. Hello? You are not audible, Deepak. I'm sorry, your voice is breaking. What I understand is your certificates. Something you said, I forgot.
Rejection mail, ma'am.
You got
Rejection mail for certificate verification.
Okay, we can't help
Yes.
you on that. That rejection was done after background verification. So nobody can change your background verification.
Okay, ma'am.
Is it from
What to do,
BGP
ma'am?
or you didn't submit the certificates?
Okay, ma'am. This affected for internship or onboarding, ma'am.
What is the email? What was said in the email?
My email ID, yes, ma'am.
No. In the email, what was written? How do I know what it is affecting? You should read the email and understand, isn't it?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
I
thank
have
you.
a question.
Good afternoon,
I'm
ma'am.
having the issue with my favorite copy.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes,
Have
Dhanlakshmi.
not
Hello.
received ADID.
Hello.
Yes, team. Who is this?
Ma'am, my name is Brahmam.
Tell me. Brahmam, tell me.
I received a mail from Wipro, which is your the internship stream is BS Auto Test, but I didn't receive session class links, ma'am. ADID.
ADID is not received. I have asked you to type one, right? Did you type one in the chat last time?
No, ma'am. I
Give.
didn't receive class links also, ma'am. I joined with my friend.
Then how do you got to know that you are assigned to BAS auto testing?
Yes, ma'am. I received a mail from Wipro 2 days back. Your stream is BS Auto Test, ma'am.
2 days back. Show me that email.
Wait, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have received a different stream in the last mail, ma'am, that they have sent with the superset ID.
What is your superset ID?
1620480. ma'am.
Come again.
16
Kavita, right?
2048.
Kavita, you belong to BAS auto test. You can continue here. Was that email about any other program? Or is it about same internship, PJP internship, or is it something else, velocity or something else?
No, ma'am, just they have sent our superset ID. In that, they have mentioned stream is base auto test.
Yeah, that is correct. This is automation testing stream only, right? What are you confused, Kavita? Okay, Brahman, what's, are you sharing your screen?
Yes, ma'am. Wait.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Please start the session.
Ma'am.
Then tell your friends not to ask questions.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, while typing assignments, we need to type a question also, ma'am. Only code only enough, ma'am.
Only code is enough. That's fine.
By mistakenly, I type both question and code, madam. I uploaded also, madam.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Brahma, it is
Good afternoon.
loading, still loading. Others, can you see this shared screen? You're on mobile. Okay. What is this? Please. Yeah, superset ID. What is wrong in this? Yesterday I have told you, right? You will receive your superset ID for PBLF. That is what you have received. What's your problem, Brahma?
I didn't receive any class links, ma'am. ADID also.
Okay. That's okay. You continue with this session. You have received this, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. And just tell me your superset ID. Let me see.
11
11
09723.
Okay. Your details are there in this, so you can just continue. Not to worry.
Not to worry.
Okay. So are we good to start with today's session? You can stop sharing your screen.
Okay, ma'am.
ADID type 1. That's it. ADID is just for you to access Citrix and all, okay? So that has nothing to do with PBL app. But I will definitely talk to my team that these people haven't received their ADIDs yet. Okay, that anyways I will check it. Okay. I don't know, when hundreds of people are receiving their ADIDs, how come few of you haven't received? Yes. Omkar, not a problem. That is fine. So I'm just sharing my screen, and let us just start with today's topic. So are you all done till Java Fundamentals team? Team, if anybody is not sure about how to use Tubial, you can click on this. There was some question to show me how to use PBL. Go to what is this PBL, you'll get to know. Are you all done till arrays team?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Array basics all are done. We are starting the object-oriented programming now.
Oh, right. So we have to start with OOPS concepts. So let me just log out. So object-oriented programming has, certain features that you have to understand. Team. So firstly, as part of that, we have to understand what is a class and what is an object. So these are the things that you have to first understand about. So we have been already working on some of the predefined classes, isn't it, team? What are the predefined classes that you are familiar with? Can you name
Yes,
any
ma'am.
classes? Yes.
Ma'am, scanner.
Scanner class.
Scanner, ma'am.
Very good. So whenever you are creating a scanner instance, so what is the syntax that you are following?
Ma'am, scanner, then a reference variable, followed by equal to, then new keyword, then again scanner, and in brackets system.in.
Very good. So there is a format, a slight change when it comes to class type and when it comes to primitive data type, isn't it, team? So let us just try to understand. So a class is nothing but it is also a data type, but it is not a primitive data type, it is a class type. So which means that, like we were using this int x equals to 0, this is how we were using, this is called as primitive data type. This is the variable x and this is the value you are assigning. Now the same way, say for example, I wanted to go for a class type, which means that, say, yesterday it was just only one single value. I can store it in X, using integer primitive data type. But today I wanted to store all your IDs, and team, all others will have to go on mute. Everybody
Oops,
please go on mute. Okay, you are forcing me to mute you all. So I'm muting all. You will not be able to unmute also. I have logged it. So if you have any questions, you give it in the chat only. So I thought I will enable to unmute, but you are forcing me to do this. I had to do it. So you can give if you are giving answers, or if you are having any questions, you can give it in the chat. Okay. So here If it is not one single value, or you might wanted to, define your logic, then you will have to go for a primitive, instead of going for primitive data type, you can go for class type. But what is this class? So class has certain prototype. This is a predefined class scanner. But what is its prototype? Prototype is nothing but a class can contain member variables and member functions. So what does that look like? Let us just go for MS Paint here. So a class is nothing but, say for example, I am saying it is class A. So when you are saying class A or class scanner, scanner is predefined class and class A is user defined, which I am trying to define now. So your class prototype says that you can have your member variable declarations here and you can have your methods defined. Say I have M1 method. So this is how I can have my M1 method defined and M2 method defined here. Are you getting, team? So this is the prototype of your class. So whenever you wanted to use this, M1 method, whenever you wanted to reuse this logic, say for example, I have created the logic for calculating A plus B in M1. Then I just need to pass A and B and I will automatically get the result of A plus B as per the definition I give in this method. Are you all getting, team? So you are just going to define your things in a class. So what is this class A? Class A is also a data type, but this is a class type. Okay, it is not a primitive data type, rather it is a class type, and its prototype says that you can have your member variables declared and you can have your functions or your methods defined. So basically, say I have a business logic, saying that you have to log in and do a logout. Say M1 is for logging into an application, M2 talks about logging out of an application. Okay, so you are going to define your logics here. So you all have, probably booked some of the tickets, or you might have purchased something online. So you have number of features. You all are the end users of all the different various applications. So each and every application has multiple features. So all those are nothing but you call them as the business requirements. Okay, so these business requirements have to be implemented. So you have to define the logic of the given business requirement within your methods. Are you getting it? And you have to reuse it wherever required. So now, so this is just the definition. This is not executable. What are the two things we have, team? When you actually start with Java, you have two things. What is that? One is compile time and the other is run time, isn't it, team? You have to first compile your program and then you have to run your program. So this prototype of a class can be only compiled. It's not executable. But when can you execute? I can only define my method M1, but I cannot execute. It can only be compiled. So when can you execute your M1 or M2? When it is called using an object's reference. So just like how you are saying scanner SC equals to new scanner. So SC is an object. So using an object SC, you are calling the methods like next int, next line. Isn't it, team? These are the methods you have been invoking, right? To scan an integer or to scan a string value. Right, team? So its implementation lies in different objects. It is just something like you wanted to construct a house. So how do you construct a house, team? First you have to have a vision. The plan, the prototype has to be designed, isn't it, team? First you call an architect and you ask him to give the design. Right? So that is nothing but, this plan. Okay, this is the prototype. And actual house implementation is when you are bringing it to reality, when you are running this, you have to run this code. So that is nothing but actual construction of house. So with one single design of house, how many houses can you construct? You can construct how many? Team? You just have one house design with you. An architect has given a design. You can construct as many, right? You can construct multi houses the same way. Create your class structure once, but that can be, executed or implemented, by multiple objects this way. Are you getting, team? So these are called as instances. So this is a class. So a class, this is the prototype. And these three objects are called as instances. An instance of a class is nothing but it's an object. Hope all of you are getting me. Right, team? Just a second. So that is about a class and an object. Okay, so now syntactically, how do you do this? Let us just try to understand. So now I'll just back to my, this is what? Sashank, see, those are flow control statements, Sashank. Switch is different. Switch case is if else, switch case while loop, do while for loop. They are different. They are flow control statements. But what we are talking about is a class. This is completely a new concept. Okay. So, let me just open my Eclipse. You are correct, Bharat. You can create multiple objects for a class. That's in here. You can compare it, Prasad, but that is different and this is different. But yes, you can compare it. If you're comfortable with data structures, yes. But we have much more to do with the class. I had given you the links yesterday. Did you all go through those links, team? Yes, good. It would be good for you if you go through. If you're just joining for, without going through, see, you would understand 50%. If you go through it and then join the session when we discuss, you will understand 100%. That's how it is. Okay. So anyways, we'll come back to this PDF. First, I'll just take you through an example here, team. So first, we'll go for a new project here. So say file new Java project. So let me say this is for my classes. Okay. Click next. And check this module info if anywhere present so that we will not be confused. Okay, so this is how I have created. So as usual, we'll first go with creating the package. So let me say this is for the first topic. Class and object. So package names always start with lowercase. So I just keep it the same. So here now, new class. Okay. So let us just try to create a class called calculator. Okay, now I am not checking this checkbox for main method. Can anybody tell me why? I have told you that class is what? Class is just like, a prototype where it is just like your house design. It is not executable. It can be executed only when you implement it. That means only when you construct the house. So when you create an object. So for now, I am only defining the class. So the calculator class cannot be executed. So don't need to include main method. Okay. So for now, I just wanted to define. So my business requirement is to now create a calculator class, basically to perform some of the calculations like addition, subtraction. So say for example, I know 2 plus 2, I know 4. But when I wanted to get 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9 plus 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, it's not easy. Right, team? So I wanted to just automate it. So I will go for creating the logic, business logic for that addition, subtraction, multiplication, whatever operations that are required as part of calculator class. So now what is that you have to do as a class prototype looks like this. So first you have to give a method name. Say I wanted to perform addition. So I give a relative name to my addition. So I have to write my logic inside this. Now if you just mouse over on this, what does it say? Return type for the method is missing. So which means that for a method, you can class is only a template. Yes, correct. So for any method that you are creating, of course, there are certain exceptions. We'll talk about exceptions later. But any method that you are creating in your class where you're defining the logic, so it has to have a return type. So what are the return types? If you say void, that means you are not returning anything, from this method call basically. Say for example, I wanted to do its summation. So let me just take this variables int x, y. Okay. And I would say that I would space this out. I would give this x plus y. Are you getting it? So when I'm saying void, there is no need of return keyword. There is a keyword called return, which means that if I wanted to return the sum, what I'm doing, I'm not returning, but I'm just printing. And so whenever this add method is called, to the called position, we are not returning any value here. But if I wanted to return the value instead of just not only printing, but I also wanted to return then I have to say int add, and you have to mandatorily use this return keyword whenever you are returning something. Are you getting it? So your return type could be any data type, what and that the type of value is what which you have to return this way. So x is integer, y is integer, so you will be returning the sum of two integers, which is again an integer. So it has to match. So your whatever the value you are returning, it has to match with this. Okay. So whenever this method is called using the object, then this value, whatever will be returning here. Okay. So this is about return type. So for now, let us just make it void to make it simple. When it is void, which means that you are not returning anything. So you have to remove this. Are you getting it? So I'll just go for another method. Now I will say int multiply. Okay. And here I will return, instead of printing, I will return here x star y. Okay, this is how you define a class. So what is a class? It has your member variables and member functions defined. So this is how you have your variables and your methods here being defined. Hope it is clear to you all. Now, this is just the prototype. There is no implement. I mean, basically, you have defined your logic here, but it will never be executed until and unless you create an instance of this class. So how do you create an instance of this class? So let us create another class which is executable. Executable means it should have a main method. So I'm checking that. So now here, whatever class I am defining here, I will demonstrate. That means I will invoke these methods in this calculator demo. Click finish. So what is the first thing, team? So like scanner class. Scanner, what did we do? We have created an object. Scanner SC equals to new scanner of system.in, right? Now the same way now you have to create calculator C1 equals to new calculator. This is how we are going to create an object. So we have been doing this already using scanner class and all. But, for you to understand, this is how you will have to create the object. Getting team? So we have created object now. So now if I wanted to assign x value first, y value, and then only you can do addition or subtraction, isn't it team? So x, y, add, multiply, right? These methods. So c1 dot x equals to, let me say 4, then c1 dot y equals to 9. Now I can say c1 dot add. So when I am calling this method, so what will happen? Then see, whenever you are saying calculator c1 equals to new calculator, so that is when this object is created. And see, x is there here, right? So there will be amount of memory allocated for x here separately, and here separately. And what is this here? This is basically your C1 object, and this is C2, and this is C3. Are you understanding, team? So now I'm using C1. So you can now, you have assigned x value as 4. So here it is 4. Okay, C2, we didn't create them yet. Okay. So only whenever you are saying new here, that is when memory is getting allocated for your C1. So x is 4 and y is allocated 9. When you are calling c1 dot add, what does it do now? It will now call this add method. So x plus y. So x and y are having these values which are 4 and 9, and it then prints that value as per your definition. It's going to print here. Okay, so let us just try to run this. You can use different names because this is all user defined. As per my interest, I have said calculator and calculator demo. You can use anything else. I have said x and y here. You might use a and b. Okay, it is up to you. You can use anything. But only thing is ensure you don't use the keywords. predefined keywords cannot be used. Is that clear, team? There is no print statement here, but why is it printing? Because it has executed the add method logic where it is saying print x plus y. So that is the reason it is printing 4 plus 9. Okay, now the same way if I say C1 dot multiply, will it print the value? Did we have a print statement here? No, it is only returning. So it will not print until and unless you give a print statement here. So I'll just run it once again. I got only 13, right? But if you notice here the value is returned. What value is returned? X multiplied by y. X asterisk y is what returned. So it is being returned. You can either store it in a variable or you can also directly print it. Okay. So when there is a method call, you will have to give a semicolon. But when you are defining a method, there is no semicolon. It is within the curly braces you are defining. This is called as method definition and this is called as method call. Hope all of you are getting. So now let us just try to run this. So now first one is 13. The print statement is in the method definition. And the second one, here the value is being returned. Okay, 4 into 9 and then we are printing it here. Hope all of you are getting it. This is how you can create your own classes here and implement them, call them by creating objects here. So the same way I can create multiple objects. I can say int x, int y, int z. The same way I can say calculator C1, calculator C2, calculator C3 and so on. Okay. So now let me say create another object. Okay. So now I'll say C2. Now I can assign a different set of values. This is like, I have a student 1. Student 1 has scored 4 marks in one subject, 9 marks in another subject. The same way student 2 will have his own scores, right? So C1 dot x and y are different from C2 dots x and y. As you notice here, there are different memory locations. When I said x and y, then you have for y also you have one more memory allocation. So are you getting team? And here I can actually say int y. So here I am assigning the value here 9. Right? So the same way here I can have different set of values. Here 6 and 0. Okay, the same way for C3. Okay, you can create multiple objects. Hope it is clear to you all. C2 dot y equals to 0. The same way I can say C1 dot add and multiply. You can call those methods and whatever you have defined in that method, those only will be just executed as it is. And why the program is in 2 depths? Because today, see, this is just about defining. See, you are using the scanner class. If scanner class is not defined separately, can you use scanner class, in multiple classes? In your multiple programs? It is just like, you have your house plan defined in one chart, but you can implement it in multiple charts. So when you can implement in multiple charts, only when you have one common template. If the template itself is not there, you mix it with this class, what will happen? That cannot be reused. Are you getting Priya? So you have to always ensure that you create your logic separately in a different class so that this can be reused. Not only in calculator demo, tomorrow I will create one more class. In that class also I might need to use the same logic. When the same logic has to be used multiple times, you have to create its a template like this. Are you getting team? Do not mix it with your complete program. What will happen if you mix it with complete program? it will, it is just fulfilling that respective program only. But tomorrow, if you wanted to reuse, you cannot. Okay. So once I create it, template this way, then I can reuse it multiple times. So this is how you can do it. Now I'll just modify a few more things. Instead of assigning values here x and y, I can also pass my own values. Int x, or for now, let me just say int a, int b. So now what I can say a star b. So whenever you are defining this way a comma b as arguments, then you have to also pass those values when you are calling here. See, there is an error. Why? Because now the prototype is changed. You have to pass two values. I'll say 45 comma 67. Are you getting, team? So this is how you can pass arguments to your method call. Okay. So you can pass arguments based on how it has been defined here. We are saying, whenever we are saying here void add, so here we have not defined any arguments, so you cannot also pass any arguments here. But when you are saying that this is how I have defined you, please boss, please send two values, and those are the values I will multiply, then you have to pass those values. Are you getting, team? So this is how you will be able to create your class and implement them using creating your objects. So now this way, how many methods you can create? You can create n number of methods, multiple methods. Okay, but there is a special method here. So what is that we have seen now, team? How to create a class and how to create methods and how to create your variables inside a class. All of you please go on mute. If you're not interested, Sharon RM, if you're not interested, you can always drop from the call. But please don't disturb others. Sharon, are you going on mute? See, team, you don't try to test my patience because I have around 700 in the call. You should also, think, keeping your foot in my shoes. You have to respect each other. Okay. Right. So coming back, so there is a special method. What is that special method, T? That is what called as constructor. So constructor is a special method. Why we say it as special? Because constructor name will be saved as the class name. Are you getting me? If you notice here, class name is calculator. Your method names are add, multiply, and many. Okay. But now we are going to learn about a special method whose name will be same as that of your class name. Are you getting, team? But did you get any error for not giving the return type here? No, right? Why is it so? The reason is that constructors are special methods and they have separate set of rules. What are those? You need not give the return type for your constructor. Okay. So now, if you notice here, whenever you are creating a new object, what is that you are saying, team? Calculator and parenthesis. So this is the symbol for what, in fact? What is the symbol, team? Whenever we are saying new calculator, so this symbol represents a class or a method. This parenthesis represent what? A class or a method, team? Method. But is this calculator method defined? No, right? But we didn't get any error when we are trying to call this calculator method. Basically, it is about trying to call this constructor, which is the special method. But we are not getting any error, though we have not defined this constructor method here. The reason is that this is called as a default constructor. Whether you define it in the class or not, this will be created automatically, but with empty body. This calculator constructor will be created automatically, okay, but with empty constructor. That's why you also don't get any error, nor you will also don't see any special things happening, anything to be executing. You don't notice anything. The reason is that it creates an empty constructor. There is no body, so you don't notice anything. So say the same script, what I would do, I would just try to have one print statement here within calculator, and let me say inside constructor, and this is called as default constructor. Okay, when you don't we have already seen we can define methods in different ways, without arguments and with arguments. We can create multiple methods. So now when you don't have any arguments, then it is called as default constructor. Okay, so now the same program, okay, now if we just run it, what do you notice, team? You have 2 times being called this constructor method. When and all, so whenever you are saying new calculator, so now it is finding calculator being defined with some logic, so it is implementing this. It's executing this inside default constructor. And again it found one more time here, so again here it is calling this calculator constructor, and it is printing. Are you all getting, team? This is about your constructor. So now can anybody tell me, like methods, you can create multiple methods. So now constructors can be created multiple or only one constructor, team? Can you create multiple? The answer is, but very good that I see some genuine answers. You can be wrong, that's not a problem. But the answer is you can create multiple constructors provided you pass different set of arguments or parameters. So one constructor, this is default constructor, another constructor with one parameter or one argument, and I can create one more one with 2 arguments, and one more with 2 arguments but different data type of arguments. So this way, how many now I can create? Infinite. I can create any number of constructors also. I can create any number of methods, regular methods. I can also create any number of constructor methods also. Okay. Gautam Singh, you have any question? I have to stop sharing again if I have to unmute. Gautam, you want me to unmute you? Where are you? Request and see if you are able to unmute, Gautam.
Hello.
Hello? Yes, tell me, Gautam.
Yes, ma'am. The object will be created, then constructor will be called automatically. So how we created the constructor again, ma'am? First time your object, whenever your object is created, then constructor is automatic call. So default constructor. So how to create another constructor in?
See, that is what I am doing. This is how I am. See, if I am not creating this, then it will create automatically default constructor with empty body. But if I want some activities, initial activities to be done automatically when I am creating the object in the first statements itself, Then I will have to define that logic inside this
Yes, sir.
constructor.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So this way I can create multiple constructors by just changing the number of arguments or their data types. Hope it is clear to you all. Kenduri Vinay show in one window. One window means what? I don't understand what do you mean by one window. Okay, I'll share this code, nothing to worry. That is why if you have at least spent some time yesterday going through these links, you would have understood much better without being confused. Okay. Anyways, after listening to this session, you try to go through the links once again so that you get some confidence. Okay. So this is your method definition for your constructors, and this is where you will be calling. So now say for example, here I'll have one more print statement inside my one argumented constructor, and let me say this is one I'm sorry, constructor, and whatever x value I am passing, maybe I'll just try to print that. Okay. So now how do you call this constructor team? As simple as passing an integer value, isn't it team? So here I am calling default constructor and here I am calling one argument constructor. So now let us just run this. So one argument constructor H, and then addition, multiplication, and then inside default constructor again, and then addition. Are you all getting team? So what are the things that we have understood? So let us come back here. This is what all about. Just a second and connect the chat. So this is what we have just discussed. A class contains variable declarations and method definitions. So int x and y we have seen, and methods addition and multiplication we have seen. Right. So this is another example for class employee, like how we have created class calculator. Just the same way here you see class employee. Okay. And these are the method definitions. Okay. So this is how you create an object using new keyword and creating the object reference. This is nothing but calculator C1, C2 we have done, right? The same thing. So the new operator is what? Which allocates the memory for your object dynamically, and it is creating the object on the heap memory, returns a reference to it, basically the address, right? So the reference is then stored in this variable. So this PDF I cannot share. You have to log into PBL app and go through it. Okay. So next comes constructors. We have seen. So constructor has the same name as that of the class name, should not have return type, and you can also not have access specify as private, public. So we will talk about public, private little later team. Okay, when we go to packages. So this is a constructor example. So now let us just try to understand some more things here. Okay, so what are the things we have understood? How to create a class prototype, okay, and how to create your methods, how to define your methods, how to call your methods, and how to create your constructors, single argument constructor, default constructors. Basically, you can create this multiple methods and multiple constructors. Hope it is clear to you all, team. So now let us just try to make few changes here. What are these changes is, see, whenever I am passing arguments here, okay, whenever I'm passing arguments here, I can, also pass x and y, isn't it? Instead of a and b, I can also say x and y, and I will say x asterisk y. Okay. So now, what do you think you get the result as? See here, I am passing the values here. C1 dot multiply 45, 67. Okay. So whether this multiplication of 45 and 67 has to be received, or multiplication of 4 into 9, which is to be received in. So x and y, basically they are called as local variables. But the same names are used for your instance variables also. So when you are saying return x and y, very good, it will try to print the multiplication of this 47, 45 and 67. But if I don't want it to return this multiplication of these values x and y, but I wanted to say this x and y, then how do I do it? So that is where we have got a keyword called this dot x, and you have to say this dot y. So what does this mean? Now this dot x and this dot y will refer your instance variables. Whenever there is a clash, there is an ambiguity between your local variables and instance variables. It is just like, even in our current batch, we have 700 people in the call, and many of you might have the same names, but there should be some way that we differentiate you all, right? Something like employee IDs or your superset IDs, they are different. Now the same way here, method is also having x and y, but this memory location is different and this memory location is different. These are different from these two, but they have same names. So to differentiate it, when you just say x and y, it refers to local variables. But when you wanted to refer your class members x and y, you have to go with this keyword this. This dot will always refer to current class instance, the current class. So current class instance variables are this x and y. Is that clear, all of you? So now when I save this and try to run this, now that multiplication of 4 into 9 is what? Returned. Yes, you can pass float value also. When you are passing float value, what just you need to say? You need to give float here instead of int. Right? It is just the data type. Just like int, you have to give float. Hope it is clear to you all. So that is about this keyword. Okay. And then coming to static members. So team, you all have, when I asked about class, you all have told about scanner class. But have you not come across integer class, team? Remember integer dot parsing, you have been parsing your argument, your args, various values to integer type, right? So integer is what? It is also class. But for scanner, when you wanted to call next int and next line, you are creating the object by saying scanner sc equals to new scanner, and with object as reference, you are calling sc dot next line, sc dot next int. But for integer, you are directly saying integer dot parseInt. What is the reason? Here you are creating the object and then calling the method. But here you are directly calling the method parseInt directly with the class name. You didn't create the object for integer class. Am I audible to you all? Right. Very good, Anil. So that is because parseInt is a static method. So here there is a new keyword coming up here called static, and this static can be applied for methods, for variables, and you can also create a static class that we'll see later. No? We can also create blocks as well. Okay. So now, if you have your methods static, you need not create the object. You can directly call it with the class name. That's what happened with your integer class. In integer class, %% is a static method. So you are calling this directly with the class name instead of calling it with the object. We didn't create the object for integer at all. Okay. So let us just first look at it. Static class members are the members of class that do not belong to an instance of a class. We can access static members directly by prefixing the members with the class name. So you can call static variable also the same way using class name. Static method also using class name. So what is the difference? So let us now create one static variable here. What is the difference? So let me say static int z. Okay. So when you say static int z, what will happen is that, say for example, I am assigning here c1.z equals to 9. Let me say 100. Okay. Now I'll say c2.z equals to 110. Okay. Now I will print the value of c1.z. Let us see what is the value that it is printing. What is it printing, team? 110 is assigned to what? c2.z. But what is it printing when I said c1.z? It is saying 110. But c1.z is assigned what? 100. But why is it so printing 110? The reason is that unlike x and y instance variables, static variable z will have just one memory location assigned to it, and this is z. And this z is common for all these objects. When you say c1.z equals to 100, it has been assigned here. And when you said c2.z equals to 110, even then it is changing the same value. There is only one memory allocation done for your static member variable. Okay, and it is common across all the objects. And why should we use such things? Because sometimes you might want to count how many objects are there. You wanted to perform some common operations among all the objects. Okay, in such scenarios, you go with this static. Yes, it overrides, correct, Sesha. Because it was given just one memory allocation for this variable. It is not separately creating 3 different allocations. No, only one memory is allocated for it. Yes, the latest value, correct. Whichever is the latest value, it holds the same. Okay, so that is about static variable. Okay, now coming to static methods. So static method, if I just say this to be as static here, so there are certain rules which probably you have to use. In static method, you cannot use this keywords. Okay, so these are some of the rules. I'll take you through the rules as well. Let's static here. Okay. So whenever you have your static members, you have to use your only static variables. So can you see for z there is no error, but if it is x and y, there is error. Why? Because this is a static method and you can use local variables. But you cannot use non-static variables inside your static class. Cannot make a static reference to a non-static field x. Hope you all are getting, team. So what I will do, let me not disturb this. I'll create another method here for static method M1. We just say it as void for now. Out. We just say inside static method. Okay. So now how this M1 can be called here? So this is a static variable with whatever object you are referencing, there is no difference, isn't it, Tim? So that is the reason instead of saying C1.z or C2.z, you can directly call it with the class name calculator. It doesn't throw any error if you say C1 dot and C2 dot, but since there is no difference, why don't you directly call it with the class name? Are you all getting me? Okay. So now the same way I can always call my calculator dot my method M1, which is static method. Okay. Is that clear, all of you? Can we use static variable in non-static method? Okay, good question. So this is a static variable and this is a non-static method. Let me say x plus z. Okay, so doesn't bother you. If you actually notice here of course this is a public static method. You are not noticing the difference. So that I just thought I'll show it here. Okay. So this is how you will be able to talk about static variables, static methods, and the same way you can also have static blocks. Static blocks are nothing but, these blocks will be executed, much by your JVM when the, class is referred itself. So the static block basically gives you priority. Okay. So let us, I think static blocks are discussed later. We'll come back to it later then. Yeah, it is here. So static block is a block of code enhanced in braces preceded by the keyword static, just like this. You can give a simple keyword static and give this. What will happen? We are just giving priority to this block of statements that please execute boss this first. These static statements first, because I'm giving priority by giving static here. Statements within the static block are executed automatically when the class is loaded into JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So let us just try to look at it. So class can have any number of static blocks. They can appear anywhere in the class, but they will be executed first in the order of their sequence. Okay, so let me just say this is my class calculator demo class. So here let me just create a static block here. Okay, and say this out and just say this is my static block. Let me give it as 3 here. Let me give it as 1. Copy, and I'll give it one more here. Say it as static block 2. And anyways, calculator object is created, so I can also call this a static block here also. So I'll say static block 3. Save it. Now you try to run this. What will be the first statement to be printed, team? Can you see static block 1, 2, 3? So before even your main method is called, it is printing static block 1. After the main method, I have given another static block, but this is also given the next priority, static block 2. Now it will get inside the main method. When you see calculator C1 equals to new calculator, so whenever this calculator is identified, so it will try to read this calculator class. So it has one static block. So it tries to first, so it collects all the static blocks and first it tries to execute those static blocks, and then it will come back to, the remaining things, and it just executes all the remaining statements. So what are the things that we have discussed, team? Static methods, static variables, and static blocks. Okay. So I will just share this code with you. The simple calculator class, but we have discussed many things: class, object, regular methods, constructors, this keyword, static keyword, static variable, static method, static blocks, all these things. And once again explain static method. Okay, so static method is nothing but, whenever you are making this to be much more as a class method. That means you can call your static methods directly with your class name. And whenever you are saying that it is a static method, it can use only your static members, not non-static members. Hope you all are getting, team. Static methods can only access directly the static members and manipulates the class static variables, and static methods cannot access non-static members, which we have seen. Okay, so this and super references, this cannot be accessed. We have seen, right, when we tried to give static to one of our methods. So this cannot, because this is a class reference which cannot be given to your static method. Okay, so whenever you're saying static, you can directly call them with your class name this way, calculator dot. Can you explain construct? Sorry, am I audible? Team, am I audible? Bad network. Yes, okay. Thanks for responding, team. So constructors are special methods which have the same name as that of your class name. Okay, so whenever you create an object, a default constructor will be invoked. But though you don't create this constructor, it will be created automatically with empty body, so you don't notice any errors or anything being executed. But if you wanted to implement your own logic, you can always define the logic for your constructor. Just like methods, how you can create argumented methods and without arguments, the same way your constructors can also be created as many as possible, as by giving without arguments, which is called as default constructor, and with arguments you can create any number of n number of constructors and they will be invoked as and when you are creating your object. Okay, so if you are passing an argument, it will call whichever prototype is matching that respective constructor will be called, just like a method. If you have calculator with in-text, then that is what which will match with this. If you have calculator constructor defined with no arguments, that is what will match with this. Okay, in fact, do you really need it, Yogesh? I didn't write anything in the notepad. Okay, but I think I gave only calculator this one here. I didn't give the demo. So this also I will just add it. Manasa, why do we use constructor, ma'am, when we can simply use class? So that is what, see, constructor is to be compared with method, not with class. Okay, because constructor is a method. Why we wanted to go for constructors? Because instead of me explicitly calling some method, I wanted the job to be done immediately when my object is created. Then you define that logic in your constructors. Are you getting, team? Right. So team, I just gave the main method also, calculator demo also now in the chat. Please copy. Correct. To initialize. Very good, Raghav. I actually lost power at my place. Okay. So these are some of the things, team, about first topic, that is in second module, that is classes and objects. So do you want to still share the questions with you? I think yesterday I have already shared the questions till inheritance, right? Okay. Okay. Right. So we will talk about inheritance, encapsulation, these things in tomorrow's session, because there are few candidates who are very new to this, so I don't want it to just pile up everything the same day. So please, who are new to Java, who are confused, who want much more clarity, please go through this classes and objects. If not PBL, go through on internet, yaar. I'm anyway sharing the links, of course, but Java is abundantly available on internet. Okay. So just go through these things, once again, so that you gain confidence. Yogesh, I have doubt in one of the array program. How do we remove or add? No, that is not possible in arrays. Arrays are not dynamic. The size is fixed. Size is fixed means you cannot delete or remove any value. Size cannot be changed, but you can replace the value. That means array of 0, you have given 5 initially, you change it to 50 later. But you cannot delete completely array of 0 and make the size, shrink the size or increase the size of the array. No, not possible. We can always replace the values. Getting Yogesh? Java Fundamentals Mini Project. Okay. Java Fundamentals Mini Project. Let me see. Mini project, all of you please try to log into PBL app and do it here, because that's a document. I will not be able to share the document. If you want, you can just see it, but I cannot copy paste. It's a PDF. Okay. So mini project, all of you please try to log into PBL app and do it. Okay. Keep open this PDF once, so that even the session expires, you won't get disturbed with it. Okay, Anand, you have to take care of it. If you are missing the sessions, ensure you do a self-study on that and upskill yourself with the help of these links and all, and do the things. Netzelesh College is asking, submit my internship offer letter. Yeah, submit that. Desktop in just Shubham, drop an email to the tech support, whatever email ID given, right, in the remote desktop details. Just send an email to them itself. Okay. So yes, we are done with today, team. You have any questions, you can let me know. Otherwise, we can wind up for today. So team, I want everybody to finish all the hands-on from this classes and objects, but ideally we don't have many hands-on. I have given all the hands-on and links yesterday itself. Please don't ask me again. Check with your friends if required. Okay. That's it from my end. Ma'am, for BGV, will there be a BGV? No session. No, I don't know. That is a non-technical thing. Maybe a talent acquisition team will know about it. For now, you just try to just respond to the email manager.campus if you have any queries. Okay. ADID, yes, I will definitely give your details to my team, but I'm not sure what is the reason. We'll see. Okay. Yeah. I'm Uday. Okay. Just a second. I think I have got some responses. Okay, Uday, what is your superset ID once again? Okay. Okay, so probably we'll update you tomorrow. I just didn't check. Suresh was asking for your superset ID. I have responded only now. Yes. So we are done with it, team. So we will connect again tomorrow and we will proceed with the next topics, team. Yes. Attendance, definitely you will be marked absent, but if it is few days, it doesn't make any difference. But if you're continuously absent for many weeks, complete week or many days, then this has its effect. Okay. Right, team. Thank you all. Take care, team. Yes, sure. You all can leave. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Take care.